Hello everyone, back to you in today's third video. So we did the February month ahead forecast this morning. That's on the forecast page. This afternoon we had a look at weather next week to 10 days. And tonight we're going to have a look at the GFS Ensembles. I hadn't really planned on doing a third update today. I've been asked very nicely by people on Twitter and at the website if I would do an Ensembles update. So I said that I would. So we'll have a look at the GFS Ensembles tonight and see whether they're showing any signs of cold easterly winds as we go through into the second week of February, then running up to the middle part of the month. But before I get on with that, just say about the ads, there's links articles on all pages. You can have a browse, just click through links, help me on the paper website. Thanks very much for doing that. And just say the second video that we did this afternoon, that is underneath the link ads here on the home page. So, try and ruffle through these as quickly as we can. This is tonight's operational run of the GFS. Starting on Monday, we find we've got high pressure in over Scandinavia and low pressure in from the Atlantic, so a bit of a battle is taking place between the east and the west. As we go into the middle part of the week, looks like the high pressure over Scandinavia is winning that battle, trying to get winds into the east. And eventually this low pressure that's coming in from the west does get sort of fended off and pushed down to the south. High pressure over Scandinavia drags in those cold easterly winds, and then those winds are in then through the weekend of the 11th, 12th of September. Not bitterly cold, but they are coming from the east in February, so they're going to be cold, probably bringing snow showers onto the east coast. And then we get this area of low pressure beyond that around Valentine's Day, which brings quite a lot of wet weather and eventually leads to much colder, bitterly cold easterly winds, still lots of blocking up to the north. So a pretty cold and wintry run from tonight's GFS, all things considered. But how much support does it have from its ensemble members? So let's run through all 21 GFS ensembles, starting with the control run, which is run at a slightly lower resolution compared to the operational run of the GFS. So this was the operational run of the GFS last year. Actually, it meant it had an upgrade. This became the operational run, and we had a new, this became the control run, we had a new operational run. So we start off, this is the website Metro FR, by the way. So we start off with the control GFS on the 10th of February. We've got high pressure over Scandinavia and low pressure southwest. We're bringing in these cold southeasterly winds. It stays bitterly cold up to Valentine's Day 14th. This low pressure is coming into that cold air and is probably producing a snow event there on the 14th of February. And then another low pressure has a go at getting mild air through. That gets pushed down to the south and it remains cold, with winds generally coming in from the east into second half of the month. By the 18th of February, low pressure started to break down that cold air. So a pretty cold operational and a pretty cold control run of the GFS tonight. This ensemble member number 1 bringing in a bitterly cold easterly wind on the 10th of February. That easterly wind stays with us through up to the 13th, probably brings snow showers into the east in particular. Then we go through towards the middle part of the month. This is 16th of February, where high pressure is building through the country. So it's turning mainly dry, but it's still cold. Nothing's happened to warm things up. Although the Atlantic does start to push through by the 18th. It's trying to turn milder, but that again could be bringing snow in from the north and from the west as well. This ensemble member number 2, and this one has us in a bitterly cold east-southeast wind there on the 10th of February. Low pressure then slinks off to the south. We just get a bit of high pressure across the country. That would be cold, dry and frosty there with ensemble member number 2. Ensemble member number 3, bitterly cold easterly winds coming in across the country on the 3rd of February, and that's probably bringing in snow there as we go through to the 12th. We would be bringing snow showers, maybe even longer spells of snow in across southern and southeastern parts of the country. Up to Valentine's Day, it looks cold and mostly dry. And then just stays pretty cold and dry there through into the second half of the month, actually. Ensemble member, excuse me, number 4. As I said, a southeasterly flow on the 10th. Not really easterly, but it is southeasterly, trying to bring cold air in. Low pressure has a go at coming in from the Atlantic, bringing mild air in, but that gets pushed off to the south. And we eventually bring this bitterly cold easterly wind in across the country. That's a really deep cold pull there, coming in with Ensemble member number 4. That will be bringing heavy snow in from the east. I have to say, this is quite a big upgrade tonight so far, anyway, from the GFS Ensembles for this cold weather. Ensemble member number 5 has a deep cold pull to the east, and that probably produces snow showers across eastern parts of the country. Then high pressure's through, keeping it mostly dry and frosty up towards Valentine's Day. And then low pressure's breaking through from off the Atlantic Ocean, so it's turning milder and more unsettled then into the second half of the month. Ensemble member number 6 looking like this, bitterly cold east to southeasterly winds there on the 10th into the 11th. Then high pressure keeps it dry, frosty and cold up towards the middle part of the month. And then low pressure starts to break through and begins to try and turn things milder. So that's not a particularly easterly scenario, but it is still a cold one. Most of these we're looking at tonight are looking cold. Number 7 has easterly winds and a chance of snow showers, certainly for the south and the southeast of the country there around the 11th and 12th. Then the high pressure goes off to the east. We get another build of pressure out to the northwest. So overall, that's another fairly dry but pretty cold one as we're going through into the middle of February. Ensemble member number 8 looks bitterly cold on the 10th of February with winds in from the east and the southeast, probably producing snow showers. It stays cold up to and beyond Valentine's Day, winds remaining generally from the east up to the 16th of February. And then it turns milder in the second half of the month. We begin to break that ridge down and return winds to the west. Ensemble member number 9, this one looks quite severe on the 10th of February. That's a very deep cold pull, and there's an area of low pressure within that cold pull, winds from the east, so I reckon that will be bringing in snow. We go through up to the 13th. It stays cold, the winds are off the continent, so nothing stirring the atmosphere up. And even into the second half of the month, this is very anticyclonic, so lots of dry weather, also very cold and frosty with Ensemble member number 9. Halfway through, up to number 10, we've got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic on the 10th of February. There is a cold southeasterly wind ahead of that, so that could be producing some sort of snow event. The low pressure dies to the south. We get the wind in from the east, so cold air wins that battle, essentially. And then it's staying cold there up to the second half of the month, that the easterly winds re-strengthen after Valentine's Day and into the second half of the month. Bitterly cold easterly wind is being dragged in. These ensembles are a big upgrade tonight on what we looked at earlier with the GFS ensembles when we did today's second video. This is number 11. The winds are in from the east on the 10th, probably bringing in snow showers to the east. And then the Atlantic has a go at getting through, but doesn't really break through. It just stays largely dry and quite cold as well. Number 12 has seen a bitterly cold east-southeast wind there on the 10th of February. That low pressure slinks off to the south. The main low pressure goes to Spain, but we keep the flow in from the east, probably bringing more snow showers through up to the 13th. Then high pressure builds in, turns it dry, frosty and cold before the Atlantic has a go at breaking through the second half of the month, and that might produce snow as it comes up against that cold air. Number 10, look at this. East-southeasterly winds, looks very cold with snow showers likely in the east. We maintain cold weather up to the middle part of the month. This is the 15th of February, where the winds are coming in from the east. It's bitterly cold, probably bringing snow showers, and this low pressure to the south could bring persistent snow across southern parts of the country. That looks very, very cold, that one. That's quite a severe one. Ensemble member number 13. Ensemble member number 14, winds in from the east or southeast on the 10th. However, the Atlantic is breaking through very quickly on this one. So this is a much milder one. It's our first really genuinely mild one, but we've had, and even this one does start off quite cold around the 10th, but very quickly the Atlantic is pushing through, and that's a much milder one. Ensemble member number 14, that's our first one. Ensemble member number 15 has the winds in from the east on the 10th, and here we go. We start to pull in a cold pool of air from the east up towards the 13th. That will be bringing snow showers, maybe even longer spells of snow across southern and eastern parts of the country. And then it stays cold with the wind remaining from the east up to Valentine's Day, and even in the second half of the month, the winds again are in from the east, so it looks very cold beyond the 14th of February. This is Ensemble member number 16, and this one, this is going to break the Atlantic through quicker again. It starts off fairly cold on the 10th and 11th, but the Atlantic is breaking through. There we are. This is mild and stormy. This one, no easterlies there with Ensemble number 16. So that's 2 that we've had, but are generally quite mild. Number 17 takes us back to easterly winds there on the 10th through to the 12th, and it stays cold then as we run up towards the middle part of the month. High pressures generally close to the country, so that's quite a cold one. It's not as severe as a lot of them that we've looked at, but it's a fairly cold one. Ensemble member 17. 18 looking like that. Low pressure coming in off the Atlantic there on the 12th, and it's going on a southerly track, so it takes a little bit longer to get into the easterly, but eventually by the 14th, yes, we're pulling in a bitterly cold east wind and probably quite a bit of snow to the eastern part of the country there on Ensemble member number 18. See how the overall scenario is very similar on most of these, but the detail chops and changes from run to run. Number 19 and penultimately has us in a cold easterly wind to start off with around the 10th and the 11th, and then the Atlantic pushes through by the 13th, going into westerly, and then that one takes us through a westerly into the second half of the month. And then finally, Ensemble member number 20, so we've got an Atlantic flow there as early as the 10th, not particularly cold with that one, but then low pressure dies southwards, so it takes longer to get into the easterly. Eventually the low pressure dies southwards, and we do pull in cold air from the north and the east. So that one's a little bit in between. It starts off a little bit on the milder side, but it does get there in the end. I think these are a big upgrade, except for 2. I can't quite remember the numbers. Number 14 was 1, and possibly 16. Except for 2, which are generally really mild ones. Overall, this looks like a big upgrade from the GFS ensembles tonight. Most of them have us in an easterly wind as early as the second half of next week. Some of them are developing this into a very extended and quite severe spell of weather through up to the middle part of February. So, upgrade from GFS Ensembles tonight. We'll see whether this is maintained tomorrow. JMA Friday, of course, tomorrow, and we'll have probably a video looking up next week to 10 days as well. So, come back for that tomorrow. Next instalment will be on Friday. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.